Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have Landon's story. This experience with God comes from a man named Landon. Don't worry, it's not our Landon. He says he's actually been to heaven. It started in 1997 when Landon's family got in a really terrible car accident. It left them all injured, it left Landon in a coma that doctors didn't think he would wake up from, and it also sadly took the life of Landon's father. During Landon's coma, many doctors explained to his surviving mother that if he did wake up, he most likely suffered so much brain damage that he wouldn't be able to walk or talk anymore. His mother explained that she did not care, she just wanted her son back. After a few weeks, Landon miraculously woke up, and the craziest part is that his brain and motor function was totally fine. Unfortunately, now his mother had the job of telling him what happened to his father. She asked him, "Landon, do you know where your dad is?" To which Landon replied, "Yes, I know where he's at. I saw him in heaven." This obviously shocked his mother, and Landon went on to explain that he had also seen his dad's best friend, who had sadly passed away just a month before this whole accident. What really stood out though is that Landon also told his mom he met his two siblings. Landon didn't know, but his mother had experienced 2 miscarriages before the birth of Landon. Landon also says that he met Jesus, who told him that he needed to go back to Earth and be a good Christian and spread his message. Landon and his mother have since dedicated their lives to helping others who are grieving a loss, which I think is a very special way for them to commemorate Landon's father and their faith. In our number 9 spot today, we have The Voice of God. This story comes from the Reddit user Narspawn, and this is what they had to say. "I didn't see with my eyes, but more than felt. I hope that's okay to interpret seen that way. Well, one day I was driving along, listening to the Eagles, music choice unrelated. I was not in prayer or anything. I just hear God's voice saying, 'I'm here with you.' That was it. I had to pull over because I was crying. It's impossible to really communicate it correctly, but it changed my life. I am a fairly open-minded Christian, and I am embarrassed by my religion at times. It is this experience and other similar ones that keep me from rejecting the faith during my most doubtful times." I think that this person's kindness really shows through in this story, which I think is super cool. And I know this video is about people who saw God, but I do feel like hearing and feeling him still counts. In our number 8 spot today, we have Crystal's story. Crystal McVeigh passed away for a short time in 2009 after she experienced complications with pancreatitis. She says that when she woke up, she was in heaven and was greeted by 2 angels along with God himself. This is what Crystal had to say about this experience. "What I saw and felt was just this beautiful, radiant, glowing light. That's the only word I can even think to describe it. But I was very aware that I was in front of the presence of the one true God. I'm a Christian. I believe it was the presence of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit." Apparently after this, she was posed with the question of whether or not she wanted to stay in heaven or if she wanted to return to her mother on earth. Crystal actually chose to stay in heaven, but as she got closer to the gates, she said that God showed her a vision of a little girl playing, and that this is when she knew it was his way of telling her that she needed to go back to earth so that she could raise her family. In our number 7 spot today, we have Laura's story. This story comes from a woman named Laura who had a near-death experience after a car accident in 1986. She said that while she was dead, she found herself in front of both God and Jesus. She said, "Jesus asked me if I wanted to see where I was. I nodded yes. He showed me that he, God, was in front of me and wearing a white robe, sitting on a tall white chair. I was at his feet kneeling with the back of my thighs on my calves in almost a sitting position. I had my hands covering my face and I was crying." Laura explained that God was kind of hidden by a round cloud, but that she could definitely see parts of him. Apparently then Jesus said he needed to ask God if she could return back to earth, after which Jesus was very excited by him saying yes. The next thing Laura remembers is waking up in the hospital back on earth. In our number 6 spot today, we have this near-death experience. This story comes from someone who had a near-death experience after an overdose. They start off by explaining that they feel as though they shouldn't be on earth anymore because of how close to true death they came. They say that they actually experienced the feeling of going to hell, which was terrifying. They say that they felt so much pain and that their body hurt all over because they were seeing how badly they had hurt others in their life. They say they especially saw the way that they were hurting their partner, as they saw visions of him being very sad and lonely. After this, they explained that they saw God. They said he was like a bright light and he was so full of love, and that all the pain went away when they looked at him. They also explained that they also unfortunately encountered the devil, who was ugly and dark. This is when God gave them the choice to either live or die, and they chose to live. They realized through these visions that they needed to return to life in order to undo the hurt that they had done, and they ended off by explaining that this entire experience made them believe in God, and it also made them realize just how precious life really is. In our number 5 spot today, we have this dream experience. This story comes from a person who says that they encountered God in a dream of theirs. They say that in the dream they were standing on the beach and trying their absolute best to comprehend just how big the size and power of the Lord actually is. They say that in this moment they knew that not even heaven was enough to contain all of him. At this same moment they saw a huge white transparent light coming from the horizon over the water, and it began to fill up the entire sky. At this point they knew it was God, but they felt fear as well. They explained that they could see his eyes and knew he was looking down on them. This is when this dream ended, and they say that this experience actually instilled the fear of the Lord in them. They end their story by explaining that he is a God of love, but he is also a God of awesome power and judgment, and that he must judge sin, and that since this experience they fear for those who don't believe when they have to step in front of him in judgment. In our number 4 spot today, we have Andrew's story. Andrew Hicks is a man who experienced death during an operation after being given the wrong anesthetic, and he says that this is when he met God. He said that he found himself kneeling before a throne that held Jesus Christ. He explains that Jesus had holes in his hands and feet from the nails in the cross, and that Jesus shone so bright it was almost hard to see. Andrew was raised in a religious home, but wasn't necessarily living a religious life before his near-death experience. He said he struggled with addiction and that his life was a mess before this experience. He explains he saw some very amazing things while in heaven, including some supernatural things. He also says that since his near-death experience, he now has the power to heal others. He also says that doctors would testify to say that there was no way he should have lived, and he credits his life to God bringing him back. In our number 3 spot today, we have Matt's story. A 68-year-old man named Matt Sadati suffered from complications of COVID-19 last year, and he found himself in a coma for 23 days, and he was on a ventilator for 4 full weeks. At one point his family was told to say goodbye, as doctors were pretty sure he sadly wouldn't be able to pull through, but shortly after this Matt miraculously began to get better and his condition greatly improved. Matt now explains that he is sure he went to the other side while he was in the coma. Matt says, "If you want to see God, look in the mirror. He looks like you. All of my life I've been looking for businesses. I'm a successful businessman, but I was going down the wrong path. God gave me a second chance, and he told me, let's see what else you can do with your life. I found out life is not about me. We have to start thinking about other people." Matt's family held prayer vigils every night hoping for his recovery. Since this experience, Matt has said he will be forever grateful for a second chance at life. In our number 2 spot today, we have Mike's story. A man named Mike King fell seriously ill after developing toxic shock after a dental procedure. While in the emergency room, he believes he passed away for a short time, and this is when he experienced the other side. He said, "My consciousness or soul left my body. My body was dead, dying, and I remember being in the doctor's mind and hearing him think and seeing me through his eyes. Then I go into this gorgeous cloud-like, I guess you could call it a tunnel, but there was a really bright light near the end of it." He then goes on to explain that he saw Jesus. He said, "I never remember touching him. I was one with him." So you're one with Jesus, and you feel that you do feel love and comfort. It's like you're finally home. Eventually he was told that he was needed on earth so that he would be able to heal others, but he explains that our souls are eternal and that he is not afraid to ever die because of what he knows waits for him after this life. In our number 1 spot today, we have Valu's story. This story comes from a man named Valu. Many years ago, Valu was at Nalamudi Punjalai in Valparai when he had his encounter with his god called Lord Muruga. While this viewpoint is absolutely stunning, it didn't become famous and popular until after Valu's experience. He explains that God arrived in human form through a bolt of lightning. He also explains that God was very handsome, which I love. This experience very obviously shaped Valu, as he has been going back to the same spot every day since that day to try try and meet God again. Valu actually lives out in this area now and takes care of it as if it was a temple, and he is also a farmer who survives off of different fruit, vegetables, and herbs. He also says that the wild animals don't bother him or try to hurt him at all. If you ever travel to this area, it is very, very likely that you will hear Valu with his chants as he shouts to the sky in prayer.
Coming in at number 10, we have Truck On. In May 2018, a fire chief in East Jordan claimed that a security camera took this image of an angel flying over his truck. Glenn Thorman said that CCTV caught an angel flying over his vehicle and then disappeared out of frame. He said, "That's an angel," and I was just blown away. The Jordan River's Facebook page shared the image and said, "These photos have not been altered in any way. The second photo, the security camera also shot because the angel was moving away. The camera is designed to photograph anything in motion or unusual. Lots of tears today when they opened the security on their camera." Wow. Some skeptics are saying it's a moth nearer to the camera and that the picture lacks depth perception, but others are straight up convinced it's an angel. Coming into number 9, we have the Texan experience. Danny Ferrero was driving in Texas in July 2018 when he saw something beautiful in the sky. He stopped to take a picture of his view down Highway 105 and then shared the image of the sun setting in the clouds on Facebook. The beams of light through the clouds very much looked like an angel spreading their wings, and the good people of Facebook thought so too. The image was shared on the social media platform 12,000 times. Ferrero said that the sighting came at the right time. He'd been having some family issues. He said, "God can speak to us in many different ways, and for that I'm thankful." Coming into number 8, we have Angels in Mecca. A YouTube video was uploaded to the video sharing site in August 2010. Now, it was said to have been shot in Mecca in 2008. Mecca, of course, is a holy desert valley in Saudi Arabia, sacred to those of the Islamic faith. So this video is pretty blurry, but such was life in 2008. I have to admit, something strange is happening here. Perhaps it's an angel visiting one of the holiest spots on earth, or maybe it's a lens flare. You decide. Coming into number 7, we have Dark Angel or Dementor. Some people in Kitwe in Zambia were convinced that they had seen a dark angel, or an angel of death perhaps, looking over the Mkuba Mall. The dark humanoid figure appeared in the clouds with seemingly no explanation. The apparition was 100 meters long and very much looked like a Harry Potter Dementor. Dementors, of course, administer kisses of death and suck out souls, so not great. People had mixed reactions to the figure in the clouds. Some people thought it was an angel of some kind or some kind of embodiment of God, so they started worshipping it. Others were terrified and they ran away in fear. Apparently the mystery cloud hung around for around half an hour and then it disappeared. How strange. Coming into number 6, we have a guardian angel. A lot of people talk about guardian angels, benevolent forces that watch over them and protect them from harm. This is a lovely idea, but is there any proof that such a thing exists? Well, this CCTV footage from a road in China seems to offer a shred of proof. A guy on a motorbike is about to be obliterated by an oncoming truck when his guardian angel flies in at super speed and rescues him right in the nick of time. Now this does leave him very confused. He's baffled, but he's alive. So have a look at this footage and let me know what you think for yourself. The video was uploaded in September 2012 and has been watched over 11 million times. Is this proof of a higher force? Well, it turns out that actually this is a hoax. It's a viral marketing campaign for a Chinese game called Dragon Totem Girl. Makes me kinda sad. Speaking of guardian angels, it seems one showed up at a hospital at number 5. I found this image alongside the story of Chelsea Banton. Chelsea was 14 when she nearly died of pneumonia. Now her illness had reached the point where doctors recommended switching off her life support. Her mother made the unthinkable decision to follow the doctor's advice. Now it was thought that Chelsea would quickly die, but she survived the night and then began to make a miraculous recovery. One of the nurses had reported a man standing by Chelsea's door, and when her mother seemed totally baffled by it, they watched over the CCTV footage. This is what they saw. Whether or not it's just a patch of light from a particularly sunny window, or whether what you're seeing is actually the figure of an angel, one thing's for sure, what happened to Chelsea was an absolute miracle. Coming into number 4, we have this Stairway to Heaven. In July 2018, footage from Tuscaloosa, Alabama was uploaded to the internet. The video was shot on a stormy day and the camera captures the dark clouds, only there's something going on in those clouds. If you look closely, you can see what looks like two two people walking through them. Now they don't appear to have wings, but could these be angels anyway? It seems that the footage was shot as part of a live stream and only later were the figures spotted. On YouTube, the miraculous video has been viewed 2.2 million times. Now Alabama is a pretty religious place and it seemed to have many people locally as well as further spread across the world totally convinced of heavenly activity. There's something similar happening in Ghana at number 3. A Ghanaian news channel reported on a strange sighting in Danzaman, Ghana. The news presenter shares the video in a segment called An Encounter with the Dead. Whatever is in the clouds looks a lot more like it has wings than the figures in the Alabama clouds, so maybe it is an angel. But also, maybe angels can choose to have wings when they want, and maybe sometimes vampires can't go into the sun, but then maybe sometimes they glitter like Edward Cullen. See what I'm saying? Coming in at number 2, we have fairies or tiny angels. Anyone watching who's roughly my age or a few years older from the UK, do you remember Goldie looking Jane? Because I certainly do. I really enjoyed them as a teen, and you know what, who doesn't love a bit of Welsh rap at the best of times? You might be wondering what they're up to now. Well, let me tell you, spotting fairies in the garden. That's what. So John Rutledge, a member of Goldie Looking Chain, was out having a lovely walk with his dog in Newbridge, Wales, when he decided to take some snaps of the beautiful sunny summer's day. Now, if the sun is shining in the UK, especially Wales, you are going to want to capture that on camera. It turns out that John got more than he bargained for when he looked at his film. While he surveyed his pictures after his walk, he realised that he had actually captured what looked like 7 tiny winged humanoids. Now, are these little angels or are they fairies? Or are fairies just tiny angels anyway? The pop star said that ever since childhood he wanted to witness a paranormal event. He said, "The last thing I expected was a winged entity in a wood in South Wales, but there it is, smack bang in your face. It's solid evidence." Imagine him saying that in his Welsh accent. Solid. On closer inspection, the picture is seemingly legit. It does look like tiny winged people. Finally, coming into number 1, this honestly did have me convinced. We have the Russian landing. In 2016, on a live news broadcast in Russia, a bright light interrupted the host. Now, I don't know what she's saying, but maybe our Russian audience will know. The presenter seems totally shocked. Her reaction seems pretty genuine. What else could this be? We don't see wings or anything, it's just a ball of light, but it's really strange, and again, her reaction speaks volumes. Was this an actual angel caught on camera?
Starting off at number 10 now, we have Saint Padre Pio. In 2002, the statue of Padre Pio was said to begin shedding tears that some people believed was actually blood. A passerby first noticed it and alerted the local priest. They were unable to wipe away this red substance leaking from the eyes of the statue. As news travelled of this suspected miracle, hundreds came to see the statue in person. This happened just a few months before the Pope made Padre Pio a saint. Some people said this was the reason for this supernatural occurrence. At number 9 now, we have Cochabamba. During Holy Week in 1995, a church in Cochabamba, Bolivia, noticed that their statue of Jesus appeared to be shedding tears of blood. Believers claimed that the tears were tested in an Australian lab and found to contain real human blood. They also said the statue was totally hollow, which was proof that there was no tampering going on. According to locals, the Cochabamba Christ has wept blood every Good Friday since. At number 8 now, we have Los Naranjos. In April 2017, a video emerged online appearing to show the Virgin Mary crying tears of blood. The statue belonged to a man in the town of Los Naranjos in Argentina. The owner of the statue said he noticed the blood in March and said that Mary had visited him in a dream. The statue was then transferred to the local church for pilgrims to visit. An investigation was launched to look for a natural explanation before it was declared as a miracle. The local priest reminded everyone though to not jump to any conclusions. At number 7 now, we have Perth. In 2002, scientists in Australia failed to find the source of tears flowing from the eyes of a statue of the Virgin Mary. The statue was on display in a Catholic church in Perth. It was bought by Patty Powell from Bangkok 8 years before. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary until one day it started dripping with a rose-scented oil-like substance. Visitors came from all over Australia to see it for themselves. The priest and many others claimed it was a miracle, but scientists conducted studies to determine exactly what this liquid was. Moving on to number 6 now, we have Fresno. In May 2016, Maria Cardenas from Fresno, California said her statue of Mary had been crying. She said it all started a year and a half before when her cousin died. Apparently, Maria came home one day and said the statue's eyes were welling up with a liquid. She said it was tears, others said it could have been actual blood. Maria said she doesn't really understand why the statue was doing that, but believes it could be linked to her cousin's death. Overall, she saw the crying as something good. good. At number 5 now we have La Madonnina. In February 95, the La Madonnina statue, or Little Madonna, was said to weep tears of blood in the town of Pantano, Italy. The statue belonged to Fabio Gregori. He said that one morning he heard his 6-year-old daughter cry out that the statue was crying blood. Over the next few days, the crying was witnessed by dozens of witnesses, both believers and not. A commission of theologians claimed it as a supernatural event. Alright, at number 4 now guys, we have Jalisco. In November 2016, a crying statue of the Virgin Mary was reported in the town of Jalisco in Mexico. A man there told TV crews that he saw blood coming out of the statue's glass eyes. This came just a few months after the preserved body of a child saint supposedly opened her eyes in the very same town. Alright, at number 3 now we have Sacramento. In 2005, it was reported that the Vietnamese Catholic Church in Sacramento had a statue of Mary that was said to cry blood. The priest washed off what he assumed were just stains, but 10 days later they reappeared. The statue is now placed outside the church for pilgrims to visit. Over the years, the rain rendered the tears as just a small smudge on the statue's face. Still, that doesn't stop people from visiting the statue even to this day. Moving on to number 2 now, we have Akita. In 1973, a convent in Akita, Japan reported a strange happening with their statue of the Virgin Mary. A nun began having holy visions of angels and showed signs of stigmata on her hands, the same wounds that Jesus received during crucifixion. Blood also poured out from the statue's palms. Over the next 2 years, the statue was said to have produced rose-scented sweat and wept tears of blood 101 times, often in front of believers and even a television audience. And finally, number 1 now, we have another statue of Mary. In August 2016, it was reported that a statue of the Virgin Mary in Bolivia had been crying blood. The local priest claimed that the Virgin Mary statue was bleeding from its eyes and hands. Samples of the substance were sent off to be tested to see if it really was human blood. Churchgoers were hoping that this would be enough for the Vatican to announce it as a miracle.